Welcome to this video. What if the greatest obstacle standing between you and the life you were created to live isn't lack of talent, lack of opportunity, or even lack of money? What if it's fear? Not the kind of fear that screams loudly, but the kind that quietly controls decisions, limits potential, destroys confidence, and keeps people stuck in a life they were never meant to settle for. Napoleon Hill called them the six ghosts of fear. And over the next 6 weeks, we're going to expose them one by one. Because these fears are not imaginary. They show up in marriages, they show up in leadership, they show up in business, they show up in our finances. And they absolutely show up in the minds of men and women who know they are capable of more, but cannot seem to break free. Today we begin the first and perhaps the most destructive of them all, the fear of poverty. Welcome back, everybody. My name is Frank Menard. I am the founder of the 17 Club Men's Mastermind, where we focus on leadership, discipline, personal achievement, and living life with purpose through the limitless principles found in Napoleon Hill's Science of Personal Achievement. If you're new to the channel, I want to encourage you to subscribe because this 6-week series may become one of the most important conversations we have ever had together. Why? Because fear has a way of silently controlling people. Most people never identify it. They just live with the symptoms. They procrastinate. They hesitate. They doubt themselves. They avoid risk. They stay stuck in relationships, careers, and environments they know are unhealthy. And often they call it being realistic. But Napoleon Hill taught that fear is one of the greatest destroyers of human potential. And if we're going to grow as leaders, husbands, wives, fathers, business owners, coaches, or simply as men and women of purpose, we must confront fear honestly. Not emotionally, not dramatically, honestly. And today we begin with the fear that impacts nearly every area of life, the fear of poverty. Now, when most people hear the phrase fear of poverty, they immediately think about money. But this fear goes much deeper than finances. The fear of poverty is ultimately the fear of loss. Loss of security, loss of comfort, loss of status, loss of approval, and loss of control. It is the fear that whispers, what if I fail? What if I can't provide? What if I lose everything? What if I'm not enough? What if it doesn't work out? And because of that fear, many people unconsciously choose safety over purpose. They stop dreaming. They stop taking initiative. They stop believing bigger things are possible. The fear of poverty causes people to shrink. And Napoleon Hill identified several symptoms connected to this fear. Do you recognize any of these symptoms? Indifference, indecision, doubt, worry, overcaution, procrastination. Now think about how many lives are controlled by these 6 symptoms alone. How many people delay action because they are afraid of making the wrong move? How many people never launch that business, never write the book, never apply for the opportunity, never speak up, never lead? Not because they lack ability, but because their fear has convinced them that failure would somehow destroy them. Here's what I've learned after years in business, leadership, coaching, and life experience in general. The fear of poverty rarely protects people. Instead, it imprisons them. It keeps people trapped in average. It convinces them to settle for survival instead of significance. And the tragic part is this: many people are financially surviving, while spiritually starving. They've stopped growing, stopped believing, stopped pursuing purpose. Fear has drained the life right out of them. And I believe many men and women today are silently carrying this burden. They are exhausted mentally, overwhelmed emotionally, afraid financially, and uncertain about the future. But instead of confronting the fear directly, they distract themselves with more entertainment, more scrolling, more excuses, more avoidance, because fear thrives in avoidance. But confidence grows through action. So, where does this fear come from? Sometimes it comes from the childhood experiences. Maybe someone grew up in financial instability. Maybe they experienced loss, hardship, or uncertainty. Sometimes it comes from comparison. Social media constantly convinces people they are behind. Sometimes it comes from failure, a bad decision in business, a lost opportunity, a painful setback. And sometimes the fear of poverty comes from a lack of definiteness of purpose. When a man or woman has no clear direction, fear becomes louder. But when purpose becomes clear, courage begins to rise. Because purpose gives suffering meaning. Purpose gives adversity direction. Purpose gives effort significance. And that is why one of the greatest antidotes to fear is a definite purpose. A man or a woman moving toward purpose may still have fear. They may still feel fear, but they no longer allow fear to control the decisions. So how do we overcome fear? First, we must identify it honestly. You cannot conquer what you refuse to confront. Ask yourself, where has fear been controlling my decisions? What opportunities have I avoided? What conversations have I delayed? What dreams have I abandoned? Second, develop a definite purpose. Fear grows in uncertainty. Purpose creates direction. You do not need every answer today. You simply need clarity about the next step. Third, surround yourself with the right people. This is why the Mastermind Alliance matters so much. Fear multiplies in isolation, but courage grows in the presence of strong people who challenge, encourage, and sharpen you. Fourth, take action, even small action, because action interrupts fear. You do not build confidence by thinking about life. You build confidence by engaging with life, one disciplined step at a time. Now let's talk about the reward. What happens when a person begins overcoming the fear of poverty? Freedom. Not merely financial freedom, mental freedom, emotional freedom, spiritual freedom. When fear loses its grip, a person begins living with courage again. They begin to become willing to lead, willing to grow, willing to risk discomfort for the sake of purpose. They stop making decisions based purely on survival, and they begin building a meaningful life. The man or woman who overcomes the fear of poverty begins to realize something very powerful. My security is not found in circumstances. My security is found in discipline, faith, purpose, and the ability to adapt. That changes everything. Because confident people are not people who believe nothing bad will happen. Bad things will happen. They are people who trust themselves to face whatever happens. And when fear no longer dominates your thinking, your creativity expands, your faith increases, your leadership improves, and your life begins to move forward again. As we begin this 6-week journey through the 6 ghosts of fear, I want to encourage you to take them seriously, to take this seriously, Do not simply listen to these videos for motivation. Use them for self-examination. Because fear hidden in the subconscious will quietly shape your future if you do not confront it intentionally. Be intentional about your efforts. And today, I want you to ask yourself one question. Where has the fear of poverty been limiting my life? Why don't you write that in your journal today? Where has the fear of poverty been limiting my life? And then write what comes to mind. Be honest. Awareness is the beginning of freedom. If this message encouraged you, make sure to subscribe to the channel and share this video with someone who needs it. And if you're a man looking for accountability, leadership, growth, and connection, I want to personally invite you to join us inside the 17 Club Men's Mastermind. We meet every Tuesday at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time via Zoom. We also host our weekly book study open to everyone, men and women alike, on Wednesday evenings at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, again, via Zoom. And if you're looking for more personalized support, I also offer one-to-one coaching, group coaching opportunities focused on leadership, discipline, purpose, and personal achievement. You can find all the information in the description below, including the link to schedule a discovery call. Until next time, remember, fear may visit your mind, but it does not have to control your life. Stay disciplined, stay focused, and continue becoming the man or woman you were created to be. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll catch you all next week. Have a great week. Talk to you soon.